Namo Amida Butsu. Introduction to Trilogy 2 by Gansen John Welch. I wrote these 3 new poems to thank and honor my teachers, Reverend Josho, Adrian, Cirlea, and Paul Roberts, as well as our Amida Dharma Masters, Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu Tan-Luan Daochuo, Shandao, Genshin, Honen, and Shinran, without whom I could not have found and understood, in my case to some small extent, Amida Dharma and my utter helplessness trapped in the endless suffering of samsara. Never forget these wise words from Tannisho by Yuienbo. Quote, as I humbly reflect on the past, when the late Master Shinran was alive, and the present in my foolish mind, I cannot but lament the divergences from the true shinjin that he conveyed by speaking to us directly, and I fear there are doubts and confusions in the way followers receive and transmit the teaching. For how is entrance into the single gate of easy practice possible unless we happily come to rely on a true teacher whom conditions bring us to encounter? Let there be not the slightest distortion of the teaching of other power with words of an understanding based on personal views. End quote. My hope is that readers and listeners will find that certain words, phrases, ideas and concepts in these poems resonate with their past and present experience and prove to be helpful and meaningful in increasing their understanding of this profound and precious Amida Dharma. I would encourage readers and listeners to share these PDFs and recordings with family and friends, especially the audio recordings for those who may have difficulties with reading, so that as many people as possible may benefit. I also hope that these verses help others and motivate them to find a good teacher like Reverend Josho, Adrian, Cirlea. Listen deeply to Amida Dharma and think and say, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Amida Buddha. Homage to Amida Buddha. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu. Trust in True Teachers by Gansen John Welch. Unenlightened human beings are driven by ego and the fierce fires of desires and deep dark ignorance, subject to fickle fortune, chance, and circumstance. These wretched, deluded beings know not which way to go, so they seek desperately for rapid relief from this endless samsaric suffering and grief. But they frequently find false friends and foolish preachers who have been taught by teachers lacking in genuine knowledge, wisdom, and compassion, interested only in fame, fortune, and ephemeral fashion. The best remedy for this truly tragic and terrifying condition is to follow only the true Amida Dharma tradition, as taught by the wise and compassionate lineage masters for beings in this spiritually degenerate age. As Bombo beings or spiritual idiots in this age of Mappo, we must sincerely, honestly, and quickly come to know that only through Amida's primal vow can we be free from all suffering and will at death certainly be born in Amida's pure land, Sukhavati. Now is the right time to dispense with personal preference, prejudice, opinion, and discard the illusion and pretense that any of these will ultimately suffice. Let us sincerely heed the sound advice of all bodhisattvas, Buddhas, and lineage Dharma masters, thereby completely avoiding all future samsaric disasters. To think and say the Nembutsu always, during all of this life's days. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Amida Buddha. Homage to Amida Buddha. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. The above verses were inspired by the following passages from pages 9 to 10 of the excellent book, The Path of Acceptance, Commentary on Tannisho by Reverend Josho, Adrian, Cirlea. Quote, Commentary on the Preface of Tannisho, The Duty of the Teacher. The intention of Tannisho is to prevent Shinran's disciples, that means us, from twisting the teaching with their own views, that is, understanding based on personal views. In fact, the title Tannisho means lamenting the divergences. Yuienbo, the author of Tannisho, emphasized this by saying, "Let there be not the slightest distortion of the teaching." So even the slightest distortion of the teaching is dangerous. In his intention of preventing us from distorting the teaching, he uses only the words spoken by Shinran Shonen, and not somebody else's words. He looks to Shinran Shonen as the ultimate teacher in matters related to our birth in the Pure Land. Quote, "For how is entrance into the single gate of easy practice possible unless we happily come to rely on a true teacher whom conditions bring us to encounter?" End quote. Yuienbo has no other teacher than Shinran Shonen. If he had another teacher other than Shinran, then he would have quoted his words as well. But as we see in Tannisho, he quotes only the words and understanding of Shinran Shonen. Yuienbo sees himself as a transmitter, not a producer of the teaching. He uses his capacities only to transmit the teaching. I set down the words spoken by the late Shinran Shonen, choosing the words of the master that are suitable to specific misunderstandings. He never invents new teachings. He never comes with his own opinions. This is, I think, how a Jodo Shinshu teacher should be. This is what many priests, teachers, and scholars of our day don't have. All members of our school, whether they are lay or priests, must always look for and accept only the words of our master Shinran Shonen, and we must always be careful, as Yuienbo says in another chapter of Tannisho, quote, "One should cautiously fear that one may be going against the late master's intent." End quote. So this is what we are trying to do now when discussing Tannisho and other classical texts from our tradition. We are trying to understand and follow the exact teaching of our true teacher Shinran Shonen, so that we may receive the same shinjin like him and attain Buddhahood in the Pure Land. Zoken Sensei said, quote, "Shinjin can be obtained through a good teacher's words. How could you obtain shinjin without accepting the words of the founding master?" End quote. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Brighter Than a Supernova by Gansen John Welch. Some scientists say that a supernova can shine with 5 million times the luminosity of our solar system sun, but they have not even begun to accurately calculate or even estimate the brightness of Amida's infinite light. Amitabha, the Buddha of infinite light, shines his all-powerful, infinitely compassionate and wise light into our blind eyes, curing our blindness so that we can see, at long, long last, the path that leads us to be free from all our sufferings, ignorance, follies, fears, tragedies, terrors, and torrents of tears. This inconceivable gift of grace requires only faith and trust in Amida's primal vow. This and only this is a must. For endless dark ages we have been unable to discern the wisdom of the great sages, or experience the compassionate concern of the kind and loving saints, because we are not free of the taint of samsara and evil karma. But now, thanks solely and entirely to Amida Tathagata, we will at death become a Buddha. Words cannot adequately express our gratitude for this future freedom from all distress. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Amida Buddha. Homage to Amida Buddha. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. The above verses were inspired by the following passages from pages 10 to 12 of Reverend Josho Adrian Cirlea's wonderful book, The 48 Vows of Amida Buddha. Quote, "The infinite light of Amida Buddha, explanation of the 12th vow." Quote, "If, when I attain Buddhahood, my light should be limited, unable to illuminate at least 100,000 kotis of nayutas of Buddha lands, may I not attain perfect enlightenment." End quote. The 12th vow. This is the vow in which Dharmakara, the actual Amida Buddha, promises that his light as a Buddha will be infinite. This infinite light embraces, protects, and brings the wisdom of faith or shinjin into the hearts and minds of people who are open to Amida's message of salvation. In the Contemplation Sutra, chapter 17, it is said, quote, Buddha Amitayus possesses 84,000 physical characteristics, each having 84,000 secondary marks of excellence. Each secondary mark emits 84,000 rays of light. Each ray of light shines universally upon the lands of the 10 directions, embracing and not forsaking those who are mindful of the Buddha. End quote. Shinran Shonen also said in his Hymns of Benefit in the Present, quote, Countless Amida Buddhas reside in the light of the Buddha of unhindered light. Each one of these transformed Buddhas protects the person of true and real shinjin. End quote. This light of Amida dispels the darkness of the minds of sentient beings, giving them the capacity of seeing themselves as they really are, that is, with no chance of attaining Buddhahood by any self-power practice, and of perceiving the salvation of Amida as true and real, capable of liberating them forever from birth and death. This twofold vision is the effect of Amida's light into the minds and hearts of the devotees. This is what we feel, understand, and accept when we become open to the light of Amida, that is, when we receive shinjin. The light of Amida also protects us from wrong understanding of the teaching. False teachers cannot influence us, and we will never distort the essentials of the Jodo Shinshu Dharma in our presentations. The light of Amida is always sent towards beings in all the corners of the universe. 100,000 kotis of Nayutas of Buddha lands. 1,000 kotis is a symbol for infinite, kotis being an incomprehensible number beyond our capacity to calculate. Buddha lands are all the places and worlds in the universe, as it is considered that each world system is governed or taken care of by a Buddha who appears and preaches the Dharma there. Some world systems are lower or higher on the scale of spiritual evolution, while some are especially manifested by the enlightenment and vows of great Buddhas like the Medicine Buddha, or Yakushi Nyorai, Green Tara's land, etc. The devotees of each great Buddha who owns a special pure land will go there through various practices that make them connected with that specific place, and once born there, they continue their practice under the guidance of that Buddha. But in all these pure lands, the light of Amida is also seen and practiced and praised, especially by the Buddhas who govern those lands and who show it to their devotees. This is because all Buddhas are aware of the wonderful method of Amida's salvation and recommend it to all beings. In the chapter 11 of the largest sutra it is said, quote, The majestic light of Buddha Amitayus is the most exalted. No other Buddha's light can match his. The light of some Buddhas illuminates 100 Buddha lands, and that of others 1,000 Buddha lands. Briefly, that of Amitayus illuminates the eastern Buddha lands as numerous as the sands of the Ganges river. In the same way, it illuminates the Buddha lands in the south, west, and north, in each of the 4 intermediate directions, and above and below. End quote. Quote, The light of Amitayus shines brilliantly, illuminating all the Buddha lands of the 10 directions. There is no place where it is not perceived. I am not the only one who now praises his light. All the Buddhas, Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas praise and glorify it in the same way. End quote. So, Amida's infinite light is a transcendent manifestation capable to go anywhere in the universe. It can be felt in the hearts and minds of the believers in the aspect of shinjin. Amida's light is a permanent presence upon beings everywhere, opened or not open to it. Through his light, Amida tries permanently to influence beings and make them accept his salvation contained in the primal vow, that is, the 18th vow. It is like an immense magnet attracting all beings to him. Some become open to it sooner, while others will do so in the future. Amida will continue sending it until all hells are empty and all beings will become Buddhas. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. In Praise of Amida Dharma by Gansen John Welch. The inconceivable gift of Amida Dharma is a beacon of light in the deep darkness of unenlightened life filled with ignorance. an ever-reliable rock in the ever-shifting sands of the desert that is samsaric life, an oasis in a drought-stricken and parched realm in which samsaric beings live, a firm foundation on which to base our feeble, fragile bodies and fickle minds, a safe path through the treacherous quicksands of an ego-driven life, a bridge over the turbulent, dangerous waters of karmically created endless birth and death, the only cure for all our sufferings and ills, our sole salvation from the severe suffering of samsara, the only key that will open the lock that imprisons us deep in the deep, dark dungeon of delusion, illusion, and confusion, our sole solace from all the terrible grief endured during all our samsaric lives, the rare, precious, and priceless diamond or gold nugget buried deep beneath the earth and found only with great difficulty, the only way to prise open our arrogant, ignorant, foolish, and closed minds, the sole medicine that will cure the sickness of this Saha world, the only way to be free of the heavy burden of evil karma created by our intractable egotism, created and dispensed by the greatest and best doctor, Amida Tathagata. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Amida Buddha. Homage to Amida Buddha. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. These lines of praise were inspired by an excellent article written by Reverend Josho Adrian Cirlea and published on his website on the 15th of September 2016. The link is provided in the PDF. Quote, the merit transference from Amida Buddha to those who entrust to him. How does Amida Buddha save us? By transferring his merits to us, those who have faith in him. Shinran Shonen said, quote, when I humbly contemplate the true essence of the Pure Land Way, I realize that Amida's merit transference has two aspects. One is the aspect of going forth, and the other that of returning. Concerning the aspect of going forth of merit transference, there are true teaching, practice, faith, and enlightenment. End quote. In the practices based on personal power, the practitioner earns virtues which he transfers for his own enlightenment. But in the case of the other power, or Pure Land Way, the transference of merit takes place from Amida Buddha to those who entrust to him. This transference of merit, or eco, carries the follower to the Pure Land where he attains nirvana or perfect enlightenment. Shinran Shonen says in a hymn, quote, when sentient beings of this evil world of the five defilements entrust themselves to the selected primal vow, virtues indescribable, inexplicable, and inconceivable fill those practitioners. End quote. As mentioned above, the merit transference from Amida to the practitioner has two aspects. One, the merit transference of going forth, that is oso echo, and two, the merit transference of returning to this world, genso echo. The first refers to the fact that through Amida's transference of merit, we go to his Pure Land where we become Buddhas, while the second one means that after we become Buddhas in the Pure Land by sharing the same enlightenment as Amida, we return to the various samsaric realms and universes to save all beings. To better understand the merit transference from Amida Buddha to us, we can compare it with a blood transfusion or an organ transplant. When a sick person receives healthy blood or a healthy vital organ, he can continue to live, even if until then he was supposed to die. Thus the blood or the organ he received becomes part of his own body and will function as if it was always been there. In the same way, we who deserve to be born in the lower realms, if we are left at the mercy of our unenlightened karma, by entrusting ourselves to Amida Buddha, we receive his enlightened karmic merits, which imbues our mind stream and leads us securely to his Pure Land. Even if we continue to have delusions and blind passions until we die, and we are actually born in the Pure Land, we become united with Amida Buddha from this very life. That is, we enter the stage of non-retrogression, as his own blood or enlightened karma circulates now through our veins. What are the elements of the first aspect of merit transference, that is, from Amida Buddha to us, or oso echo? Shinran Shonen said, Quote, concerning the aspect of going forth of merit transference, there are true teaching, practice, faith, and enlightenment. End quote. This means that Amida Buddha transmitted to us a teaching, a practice, and a faith through which we can attain enlightenment in his pure land. If we accept that teaching, if we have that faith in our hearts, and we follow that practice, then we will attain enlightenment. If not, our life in human form would be spent in vain. It is extremely important to notice that all of the above elements of the path to the Pure Land come from Amida Buddha. They are part of his merit transference, so they are not something we develop by our own power. Thus, we are not the creators of the true teaching on Amida Buddha or Amida Dharma. That is, we cannot change it according to our own personal opinions, likes or dislikes, and we are not even the owners of our faith and practice. End quote. Namo Amida Butsu.